This year, it kind of feels like I'm on a quest to find just flattering pants in general for my body shape. And so I tried out a pair of paper bag waist pants. Let me show you. I'm Maddie with Maddie Sews, and welcome back. So all of you guys know that I've been on this journey to actually find a pair of pants that I feel comfortable in and that I feel something that makes me feel like, dang, I look good in that. Don't we all want those pants in our closet? Well, I decided for Black History Month that I was going to try out a new pair of pants, and so the pattern designer that I had chosen was Ivy. When I saw that Sew Natural Dane and the Island Sewcialist had this comprehensive list of pattern designers, I thought, well, let me try somebody new. And I've been doing a lot of that lately, and it's been fun. It's been a little frustrating, but for the most part, it's been really fun. This time around with Ivy, I decided to get their Elle top and pants. And let me tell you, it was a doozy. In my last Friday sews, and I'll put a little link to it up here for you. In that video, I was actually talking about my kind of love-hate with indie pattern designers, and really what it's all about is PDFs. I don't like taping together PDFs. So I had actually printed the patterns that I needed for the month, and in that were the Elle top and pants. Now let me tell you, taping together that pattern was a little frustrating for me because I didn't have the instructions for whatever reason. And quite honestly, that could have been 100% on me not downloading the file. I'm not sure if I had missed it or if it was somehow not included in my files. I'm leaning towards me just not downloading the instructions file. But because your download link actually is only good for 24 hours after you make a purchase, and then you can no longer access stuff on there, there was really no way for me to get the instructions. So I sent them an email, and they got back to me really quickly with the instructions, which was super. But something else that frustrates me, and it's not just with Ivy patterns. I mean, I've found this in several different indie patterns. When I'm taping together their PDFs, it seems like if there's a line that's too close to the edge of the paper, you completely lose it in the taping process. It's not on the top part, it's not on the bottom page. That line just kind of goes bye-bye. So that actually happened on different lines for me. It happened on the top and on the bottom. I think it was one of the facing pieces on the top for the top front. And then on the bottom, it was the ankle tie part that was actually missing. And so I just kind of took a guess at that one and decided that, hey, it needed to be not as wide as the casing. And I just went forward with that. And before I go on, I just kind of want to mention that I actually do really like these pants. I think the styling looks good, and I think that the overall end pant that I had does look good. So let's just talk about the Elle pants moving forward, because that's actually what I muslined up, that's what I made, and that's ultimately what I'm wearing right now. This pattern runs from an extra small to a 3XL. And the extra small waist starts at a 31 inch and the 3XL to 43. Hip wise, the smallest size is 42 inches and the largest is 54. Going into the sizing on this, I knew that I was going to have to pay a lot of attention to the size that I chose, because when I was watching Sew Natural Dane's video on the pants that she had made, actually she made a pair of shorts for herself, she had mentioned that there was an issue with the finished garment measurements compared to the chart that they have here. And she was spot on, because looking at the size chart with the 49-inch hips, I would fall into the extra large. However, when you're looking at the finished garment measurements, the extra large has a hip of 69 inches. That's 19 to 20 inches of ease, which just seems like an incredible amount of ease. I ended up sewing up a size medium. And that's mostly because when I had asked them if they could send me a copy of the instructions, and they did really quickly, they also noted that the pants were running large and that I might have to size down a size or two. And so I felt pretty confident about going with the medium for this one. And I think it was the right decision, quite honestly. So fabric wise, they say that the ideal fabric to use is a stretch woven for both the top and the pants. However, you can use cotton, linen, silk, wool blends, synthetics. Because these pants are made with so much ease and they're meant to be on the baggier side, I decided that using a crepe wasn't going to be an issue. I felt like the stretch wasn't really necessary in the pants. I do think that it would be helpful in the top because it doesn't have any darts and things like that, but that's another video for another day. So if you see here, the fabric that I actually used was my Atelier Brunette. It's got an amazing weight to it. It drapes beautifully. I just felt like that fabric was just meant to be these pants. However, with all of that being said, and knowing that they had recommend sew fabrics, I was actually really kind of surprised that they didn't have any kind of interfacing in the instructions. They actually call for you to hem the waist and the legs. And I knew that if I just had one single piece of fabric there without any kind of supporting structure underneath it, it was just going to flop over and I wasn't going to have a paper bag effect. Let me just warn you now, I completely deviated from their instructions. I measured from the waist down 4.5 inches and I marked a line all the way around my pants after they were, after my side seams and, crotch seams and everything was constructed. And then I went and I got some interfacing and I used a knit interfacing because I didn't want anything that was going to be too stiff. And I cut a 4.5-inch wide strip and I attached it up on the top of my pants. I then folded it over and sewed around that edge. And then I went in and attached my belt loops and stuff on the outside. While we're talking about belt loops, let me just tell you that, so on the actual pattern pieces, it tells you to cut 6, little rectangles for your belt loops. No big deal, sure. But then when I looked back, it had markings for 3 belt loops on each side of the back piece. So that would be 6, but then also on each side of the front pieces as well. So, you have 2 fronts, 2 backs, that equals 12 belt loops. So, I just kind of winged it with those belt loops. I had my 6 and I decided I was going to put 4 on the back, 2 in the front, but I made sure that I put 2 in the back that were closer to that center seam so that way they could help provide me a little bit of support for my badunk dunk. Another thing that I found a little confusing was the belt. So they give you these really big belt pieces that, are shaped with little V's on the end like that. And well, it said to cut 2. And if I'm cutting 2 of those pieces, I'm assuming that they really wanted me to have this pointed V looking type of belt. But then when I was looking back at the pictures, that's not how the pictures had illustrated it. So I ended up cutting just 1 of those long belt pieces that they had. I also interfaced that belt because my fabric is so light. So I interfaced the inside, folded it in half, and then I sewed up around there, flipped it back to right sides out, closed up the hole, and that's my belt. I did question whether I really wanted to interface my belt, but ultimately I decided that it needed it. It needed the structure, it needed the extra weight. It's got a big job to do in holding up these pants because it's the only thing holding up these pants. and quite honestly, I think that's by design a paper bag waist. That's nothing to do with these pants in particular. since I had to deviate so much from the instructions to put these pants together, I actually thought about putting elastic in around the waist to make it, you know, so that I didn't have to keep tying and untying it. Because what this pattern actually calls for is you to put a casing on the back of your pants and then to make an extra little tie that you run through there and you tie on the inside of your pants so that you don't see it. Lazy me really wanted to go the elastic route, but I really do like options, right? Like I like the option of being able to wear these pants with that little like ankle ruffle, or to completely take all of that little like ruffling out and just wear it as a wide-legged pant. So I did end up doing a casing, but I didn't do it the way the instructions had called for because they give you an extra little casing piece. So what I did for that was I actually folded up my pants, like the hem of my pants, 6 inches, and I included a little buttonhole on the inside where that seam allowance was. I'll pop a picture in here so that way you can see what I'm talking about. And then I went ahead and I sewed a casing above that buttonhole and below the buttonhole. I never actually used the additional pattern piece that they had provided for an extra little casing. I just used the fabric that I had at the bottom of my pants to do that. And that actually saved me a step because I didn't have to hem my pants and I didn't have to hem the waist either. So I'm happy that I did go with that. I will note that had I used a thicker fabric like what I used to muslin up my shorts in, I would 100% go in and hem the waist and the bottom. This is the fabric that I use to make my muslin of the size medium Elle pants. And honestly, I think I'm gonna finish these and wear them summertime. I think that'd be really cute, but you can see here that it is a much thicker fabric. I mean, like, it stands up on its own. And so if I was using a fabric like this, I wouldn't have folded it over because it would have just been so thick to do everything that way. So in this sense, I feel like it would have been better to use their instructions and just hem the top and the bottom. So that's something to just keep in mind if you're going to be making the Elle pants. Your fabric is really going to determine like how you ultimately end up finishing these pants. With all of that being said, I feel like they actually had rated these pants on a skill level of intermediate to advanced. And well, when I went back to the website to go and take a look to see, you know, if that was actually if that was actually correct, they took the pant pattern down. Actually, they took both Elle top and pant pattern down. Man, if I were a beginner or even like kind of like beginning stages of intermediate, I wouldn't have been able to put these pants together because I just wouldn't have known the techniques to use for the fabric that I had chosen. And so I hope that that's something that they're going to address. But you know what? We'll see. I'm sure that when it comes back and it's available again for purchase, that it's going to be a whole different experience. So those are my Elle pants. And even though it took a while to, you know, figure out how I was going to put these things together, I really do love the end results. I feel like they're really comfortable and I like the option of being able to cinch in the ankle waist and make that little ruffle, or just kind of like leave it open and put on some flats and run with it that way. Well, let me know what you think about the pants. Before I actually make the Elle top, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to pivot and do the Ankara fabric that I have all washed up with my Kaale Ali pattern. Just because I really feel like it's going to look really nice with these pants. And ultimately, I feel like by having both the pants and the top, I'm really going to hit that Black History Month challenge, which is exciting. Well, thank you for hanging with me. If you enjoyed this video, if you learned something, or if you took anything away from this, give me a thumbs up. subscribe and click that bell notification so that way you can know the next time there's a new video. And really, until next time, I hope that you find joy and have a wonderful day. Bye.